Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to people based on where you've joined. As you know, today's topic for this webinar is importance of creating awareness about your business continuity plans among your employees and some tips on how to achieve it. So before we start, a quick introduction to myself. My name is Zubair. I'm a senior consultant with Continuity and Resilience. We like to call ourselves as CORE. Before joining CORE, I was with FirstSource. I was managing global business continuity for FirstSource, as well as ITSM IT continuity. I'm a CBCI, and I'm certified business continuity specialist, certified ISO 22301 and 27001 lead auditor as well. A quick introduction to the organization. Like I mentioned, we like to call ourselves as CORE. We Continuity and Resilience. We ourselves are ISO 22301 certified management consulting firm, and we deal in domains such as business continuity management, crisis management, IT disaster recovery, green IT, and sustainability. And we consult, train, or assess individuals and organizations in these domains. We also provide tools such as crisis notification tools, BCMS full lifecycle tools, alternate work area recovery, ITDR tools, etc. So that's a short introduction to the organization. Let's start off with the actual topic. But before we start, I wanted to ask you a quick question. First of all, is training and awareness of your employees important? Geeta, can I request you to one? Is training and awareness of your employees important? So you can see the question on your screen. You would need to either select yes or a no. Okay, I think the poll is ended and we've got a verdict. And I'm really happy to notice this. Everybody says it is important to ensure training and awareness of our employees. That means we are in the right place, and let's see how we can achieve that. But before we go into that, let's see training and awareness of employees. As you all know, business continuity is a key concept of an organization risk management program. However, employees ranging from executives to general population, including the partners and the customers, are often unaware of the very existence of the program or their roles within the business continuity effort. So here the key is, it's not only the business continuity management team that needs to be aware of your business continuity processes, but it is all the employees, including your executives and general population, partners and customers. Basically, all the stakeholders need to be aware of your business continuity plans. It is important that they are aware and they know what role they need to play in the entire gambit or business continuity. Can management rely on business continuity program if the key stakeholders are unaware of their responses and recovery responsibilities? Can you, a simple question, can you expect something from somebody if you have not asked that person to perform an activity? You cannot, because you've not asked it. So the first thing is you've not trained the person how to do it, so he cannot do it. So he will not do it. So you can't go back to him and question him why he did not perform that activity, because you've not asked him, you've not trained him. So the obvious answer is no. And as a result, the time and the resource invested in planning effort are often wasted. So no matter how good your business continuity policies and procedures are, how good your plan is, it will be all waste if people who need to implement that are not trained. So training is a key, very, very important aspect of your business continuity. So training and awareness is the most important part of implementing effective management system. It could be any management system. It could be business continuity. It could be information security. It could be ITSM. It could be any management system which requires employees to be aware. One of the famous gurus mentioned that a security system is far more difficult to be breached, which is surrounded by an informed employee, as compared to, and a security system is far more can easily be breached if it is surrounded by army. But it is difficult to breach if the employees are aware of what they are actually securing. So awareness is a key thing to ensure that you are able to implement and practice your policies and procedures, your system, basically. So you have perfect policies and procedures, but simply pushing those to your internal mails list won't help. You need to explain to your colleagues why business continuity is needed and how to perform certain tasks. That's the main purpose of awareness and training. So why do organizations continue to place training at the end of the long list? Why do everybody knows that you all mentioned that yes, training is important, but is it a priority in the list? Generally not. So why is organization? Why do organizations basically push it at the last? There are two major objections. One is we don't have the resources to develop and deliver custom training and awareness content because business continuity personnel have competing responsibilities and requirements. They are busy in something else. They can't concentrate on training and they can't develop training modules. The other thing is that the expense of outsourcing. So if you're busy, then why not outsource? But outsourcing is expensive. The expense of outsourcing the development and delivery of training exceeds budgetary constraints. So this is one objection. The other objection generally you will come across is the business area have a business to run. Participating in training events is too time consuming and is therefore a low priority. First of all, everybody, the organization feels, is business continuity the main area, the focus area? Absolutely not. For business, it is something else. It is the revenue generation processes. So business continuity is not a priority. So they are busy running the business. That's the reason why they can't concentrate on training, which is a low priority, especially the business continuity trainings. So we'll probably in the course of this webinar, we will see how to counter this and see how we can ensure that there's enough training. So how we can do that? Although these objections are common, they can be proven incorrect with advanced planning and introduction of creative solution. Please remember there is a general rule in the business and the decisions are evaluated based on a simple equation, which is value minus cost is equal to benefit. The bigger the value and the less the cost, the higher the benefits you get. The lesser the value, the higher the cost, the lesser the benefits you get. So obviously, the organization, the management would not want any session or any program which is giving them less benefit. So our point is how can we create high value, reduce cost, and ensure there are better benefits. So value part is creating and communicating strong value statements, deliver compelling content efficiently, at the same time control cost through standard curriculum, develop methodologies which will give the organization significant benefits, increasing risk management confidence through higher level of preparedness. So we will see how we can achieve this. But before we go that route, I just want to check on ISO 22301. Where does it come? Before we go there, let's see what, I'm sure you all are aware of ISO 22301, the PDCA cycle of ISO 22301. We have stakeholders, interested parties, who have the BCM requirements and expectations, which information is taken and processed in terms of plan, develop, plan, do, check, act, which is clause 4, 5, 6, 7 of ISO 22301, which is plan, do is clause 8, check is clause 9, and clause 10 is act. And when this is done continually, then you have managed business continuity systems. Yeah. So you have, this is the PDCA cycle of ISO 22301. The same cycle in terms of the names of the clauses. Plan has context of organization, leadership, planning, support. Do has operation. Check has performance evaluation, and act has improvement. Please remember the first three clauses, clause 1, 2, and 3 of ISO 22301 are non-actionable clauses. So that's the reason why it is not featured in here. They basically have scope and terms and conditions and etc. Yeah. So when this is processed and there is continued improvement, then there is managed business continuity systems. Yeah. Now let's see which clause of ISO 22301 most closely refers to the training and awareness part. So can I request Geeta to release poll number 2? Is it clause 4, 5, 6, 7, clause 8, clause 9, or clause 10? Please remember, the question is not when are you going to do the training. The question is where in ISO 22301, which clause refers to this competency and awareness, the training and awareness basically. So the poll is on your screen. Please select the option you feel is correct or you know is correct. Excellent. Okay, so most of you have selected clause 4, 5, 6, and 7. Absolutely correct. It's basically in clause number 7, so I have got a gist of the clause here. It talks about clause 7.2 and 7.3 talk about competency and awareness. So this is the gist of the snippet of the ISO 22301 standards. Yeah, so we have 7.2 that talks about competency. The organization shall determine the necessary competency of person doing work under its control that affect its performance, ensure that these persons are competent on the basis of appropriate education, training, and experience. Where applicable, take actions to acquire the necessary competence and evaluate the effectiveness of the actions taken and retain appropriate documented information as evidence of competence. And IS 7.3 talks about awareness. Person doing work under the organization's control shall be aware of business continuity policy, their contribution to effectiveness of PCMS, including the benefit of improved business continuity, the implication of not conforming with BCMS requirements, and their own roles during disruptive incidents. So one of the ways you can counter those objections is to tell your management that your standard, which is ISO 22301, if you're compliant to it, requires you to ensure that all the employees are trained on their roles and responsibilities, and people who are managing are competent enough to manage what they are expected to manage. So just one aspect. Let's see some more. The other aspect is great response and recovery personnel competency, how you can do that. To ensure plan will be implemented efficiently and effectively, it is critical that response and recovery team members understand their responsibilities as well as the objectives and assumptions that drove the development of business continuity strategy. So just imagine putting an executive in front of a media with no training. Imagine a crisis management team leader managing the response effort, and it's the first time he or she has ever seen the plan. And imagine a business manager asking a very simple question after a hurricane flooded the office: where are we supposed to go? And so basically training and awareness programs are designed to close these knowledge and performance gaps at all levels in the organization. One very important thing which I want to mention here is the person who is managing media would require training on basically the competency and training on how to manage media, and what are our business continuity strategies in terms of managing media. What exactly, it is important that the person who is managing media is aware of our business continuity strategies. It is important that the crisis management leader is aware of business continuity strategies. It is important that the business owner is aware of where we're supposed to go, what is the business continuity strategy. So you need to ensure that you provide competency-based roles and responsibility-related training and awareness to each of the individuals. Response and recovery personnel must be knowledgeable of business continuity plans and processes. However, it is equally important for all employees to be aware of program elements applicable to them. For example, understanding their roles in planning as well as having a working knowledge of building evacuation, employee accountability, and crisis communication procedures are important topics that all employees should understand. So the question is, like I mentioned earlier, can we just train people who are involved in managing crisis? That is your crisis management team? No, that's not enough. We also need to ensure that the training is given to everybody. When I say everybody, even your general employees need to be aware of it. Why do general employees need to be aware of the training? Because they also need to evacuate the premises, so they need to know how the evacuation process runs. They need to know that they need to move to an alternate location, so you also need to train them that if the center is down, there is another location where you can move to, where work can be performed. So you don't need to give all the training, the same training to the crisis management team, the same training to the general population. You would need to give training to everybody, but customize your training. The training which the general population will have will be far less, or the content will be far less as compared to the training which you will be providing to your crisis management team. So in order to implement a coordinated business continuity effort during a crisis, everyone must be aware of these processes prior to the event occurring. So like I said, it is not just the crisis management team. Everybody needs to be aware of your strategies, business continuity strategies. Okay, so let's move further. So increase plan development efficiencies and effectiveness. How you can do that? So organization plays business personnel in a plan developer role in order to create and document business continuity plans. This is effective because no one understands the business better than a person serving in that role. So basically, who is running the business, we ask them to create the training material because they understand their business better than no one else. Yeah. So, however, business continuity planners need to have a deeper knowledge of business continuity theory, organizational recovery capabilities, and plan development methodologies if they are going to be expected to develop the key steps to recover a business functions following a disaster. So what I'm trying to bring out in this slide basically is we have seen a number of places where the business continuity team actually comes out with a recovery strategy, and the business owner is not aware of it, or rather the business continuity team does not consult with the business owner when identifying the recovery strategy, or it will be completely the business owner who is responsible to identify the recovery strategy. He's not aware of, he or she is not aware of what is the capability of the organization. So there is a communication gap. You need to ensure that when you are developing a strategy, you need to involve the business continuity team, needs to involve the business owners also when identifying the strategy. So this will ensure that they are giving their business related requirements properly to you, and they can also help you in identifying the solution. You, on the other hand, are the experts in business continuity knowledge. So you have the knowledge of the business continuity, you have the theoretical knowledge, you also know the organization's recovery capability. So it should be a team effort, and it should not be a silo type of plan development. So it's very, very important that everybody is together in it, in creating the plan, in creating the training material as well accordingly. The next point is integrate risk management effort. A direct correlation exists between the existence of awareness program and the risk management program integration. Business continuity professionals appreciate the need for strong relationship between physical and IT security, facilities-based emergency response, health programs, and crisis management or business continuity. In many organizations, these programs operate independently. However, organization-wide awareness program highlights interdependencies and push these independent processes towards tighter integration and a common business-facing approach to manage safety, security, and availability. So, what are we learning from this slide? I'm sure you understand that business continuity also has some part of it which is overlapping with physical security, with IT security, with health and safety, etc., etc. So it is, and just imagine an employee is going through separate training for physical security, separate training for IT security, separate training for business continuity. That is a little too much, and it's the same information which he's learning from three different teams. So why don't you integrate everything? You can probably integrate physical security, IT security, facilities-based health and safety, crisis management, everything little tighter so that there is no overlap. Everything can be achieved in one go itself. So this is one of the tips you can probably look at if you have separate trainings from separate teams. Obviously, this will probably create some kind of disinterest from the business because they're going through the same thing from different people. So the seriousness is not there. Integration often translates into cost saving also. That's another important point. And improved response time. So you are saving not only cost, you're also saving a lot of time for the business. Grow program maturity. Very, very critical. An indirect output of developing training is the in-depth review and revision of the content being taught. Many organizations find that as they break down a process so their employee base can understand it fully, they find a lot of holes, inefficiencies, and redundancies. This level of review is often passed over because time constraints are inevitable when creating training and introducing a new level business continuity program maturity. So, like I mentioned, this slide is basically talking about reviewing the entire training material. Initially, you might probably, if this is the first time you're introducing the training and awareness, if it's the first time you're rolling out training and awareness in your organization, you would probably go ahead, identify the training material, identify the content, you go ahead, roll it out. But don't just stop there. When you're reusing it, when you're performing the refresher, you need to ensure that this is reviewed. And many organizations, like I mentioned here, notice when they're reviewing that they find a lot of holes and inefficiencies and redundancies in the training material. So that is something which needs to be identified and taken off so that your training material is effective. Remember, the value is provided by efficient and effective training material. So to ensure that your training material is efficient and effective, ensure that as the maturity of the training material increases, so as the time passes on the training material, so the maturity of the training is increased. Surprisingly, that's something which most of the organizations don't do. They don't review the training material. So how to get started? Let's see getting started. You might consider creating a survey to gauge the current level of awareness across your organization and create a baseline. So the questions that could go into the survey should be relevant to your organization and could include: do you have a workaround for your computer outage? Do you have a workaround when the facilities are available? Do you know if there are business continuity or disaster recovery plans? Do you know what to do during an emergency? So some of those questions which you can use in your survey. Don't make generic questions. Make questions which are specific to your organization in the survey if you're actually taking that route. When you send your survey, also ensure that you take good sampling of your organization. That includes your senior management, your middle management, as well as your line management and members of general population. So ensure that your sampling is having a good mix of your senior management, your mid-level management, and your general population. Don't so that you can get appropriate indicator or feeler of where and what the issue was, and so that you can address it. Some more information on getting started. Information received from the survey will provide a good baseline and will help you determine where the gaps are in communicating important information about your business continuity plans or disaster recovery programs. So this will give you a foundation on what exactly went wrong. I mean, what exactly is the area of improvement? What is a gap which you need to address immediately? After determining what your gaps are, you are ready to begin creating objectives to address these gaps. But first, remember to identify your audience and know their needs. What is the composition of the audience? What are their expectations? Are there political hurdles to overcome? Is there any resistance that needs to be overcome? So identify that, address this, and then go ahead. These questions need to be answered before you can define a strategy for effective communicating to your audience. So ensure that the above questions are answered, the above questions are addressed, which is when you can go ahead for the next stage, which is developing a strategy. So develop a campaign strategy, basically in terms of who will run the campaign, how long will it run, will you use one or multiple media, who will you transition the material to, or will you continue doing the training forever? Will this be a one-time or recurring campaign? So these are some questions you need to answer to develop a strategy. A campaign strategy should include basic information such as why the program is being developed. If this is the first of your organization, the importance of business continuity planning and disaster recovery, and definition of key terms so everyone in the organization is speaking the same language. So you have to ensure that The strategy includes the basic information on why the program is being developed. Organizational information that includes who in your organization is involved in business continuity planning and disaster recovery activities. What your organization is doing to perfect itself from various events, and your organization's emergency response procedures. So basically, you need to provide why, what, who, the WH questions to the audience, saying that this is what the WH questions in terms of business continuity to the organization. So who is in your organization is involved in business continuity, the roles and responsibilities of those employees, who, what are you doing to protect your employees, what are you doing to protect, what are the different events which might happen to you, how you're protecting them, where the employees need to go, how they need to notify, who needs to be communicated, etc., needs to be a part of the strategy. Employee information, including how an event may affect employees, what to do before or during or after an event, who to contact, where to go, how to deal with the media. So the prior one was with respect to business continuity, crisis management team, and the latter one is with respect to general employees. So the general employees need not know everything about business continuity. They just need to know how an event may affect the employees, what to do before, during, or after an event happens, who to contact, where to go, how to deal with the media. Very, very key thing, how to deal with the media. Please remember, if you are communicating incorrect information to media, that itself could create a disaster in itself. So it is very, very important that employees are told that nobody is authorized to go to media unless they go through the authorized channel. So only the employee or the team which is responsible to communicate to media authorizes the person. That's when he can go to media, otherwise he's not, or he or she is not. Information on external entities, such as information about the Red Cross, federal emergencies management associations, local emergency management offices, and local fire and police department. So these things can also be part of the information that can go into your development strategy. Now let's look at curriculum development. The key to ensure learning efficiency and low development or implementation cost is completing a formal requirements identification process that aligns the objectives, the content, and the delivery mechanism. So you have done your survey, you know what are the objectives, you know what are the gaps, you have already identified what are the objectives that you would need to achieve, the content to achieve those objectives, and how you're going to deliver it. So if these three are aligned, then you can definitely get effective training at a lower costs. So some critical questions that you can look at is, who are we trying to reach? Who are we trying to reach? What is the priority of each audience and the impact if not trained? What do we want each audience to know? What is the takeaway? How complex is the content? Is it complex enough for the target audience? How often is the content likely to change? So based on it, which you can probably identify what is a refresher period, how much time does each audience have, and where are they located? So this is very important. You already know the objection what the business has. Business does not have time. They cannot concentrate on training. So what is the minimum time they can actually assign to this? So based on that, you can identify what should be the delivery mechanism. How often do we need to provide training, initial or refresher? How many times? When I say initial, it basically means that a new employee orientation, as in if the employee is just joining, so do you want to do the training at that time, and then do refreshers at regular intervals? So that's something which you need to identify. And what methods of delivery are available for this content? So what is currently in hand and can be used to ensure you can leverage the cost benefits? What methods of training are optimally? So people don't have time, you don't have cost budgetary cost to basically get hi-fi tools and stuff like that. So what are the methods you can use to ensure that trainings are of trainings at the optimal level? Now let's look at content development. Utilizing the standards and curriculum development process outlined in the previous slide. So utilize all the curriculum development process which is outlined earlier and leverage these important things to ensure that you don't spend too much of time reinventing effective training content. Which are those? You look at your existing program documentation, document repositories which you have, management presentations, and common images and graphics. So if this is the first time you're actually putting the training material in place, you're putting content in place, then don't try to reinvent. Look at these 4 or 5 important things, which is your program documentation. You already have your business continuity program, so look at those documentation, look at the other document repositories where you can find some information, and management presentations. You might have given some presentation to the management, get some key points from there, right? Some common images and graphics which the organization may be aware of, or it could be which is commonly available, so that you can ensure that you don't spend too much of time and also the content is effective. If third-party consultants are used, take the time to organize information in the repository and introduce them to source file right away. We understand that there could be some confidentiality aspects, but you need to also remember that it's important that the consultants are aware of your organization so that they can create effective training material. So please provide the information to the consultants to enable them to create the effective training material. Of course, you already have your NDA, which is signed with the consultant, so the security aspect is taken care of. Further, all the material you create should be reusable, with updates being made as necessary to keep pace with the dynamics of the organization. So when I say reusable, it does not mean that you use the same material over and over again without reviewing it. You obviously need to review it to make it effective and in line with the dynamics of the organization. In order to keep the material up to date, you should define maintenance triggers so that material are reviewed and updated on a regular basis. And these triggers could be just prior to a tornado season or hurricane season, right after you conduct an exercise, or it could just be a quarterly or half yearly or annually, whatever. The timings will basically depend on the organization's needs. So you create the content and also ensure that it is kept up to date. Some of the delivery methods you can use or can be considered. I've mentioned it in terms of what is a method, what is the content complexity you can put in that when you're using that particular method, what is the size and distribution of audience you can achieve when you use that particular method, the frequency of instructions, how frequently do you need to provide use this method, and the frequency of change in the content, how frequently you need to ensure that the content is updated and reviewed. Oh, sorry, we've got a question. I'm sorry I didn't notice this question earlier. The question is, can we say BCP test also fulfills the need for the training? Very good. This is something which we are going to address in probably the next slide. This is coming in the next slide. So yes, the answer is yes, but let's see what we have in store in the next slide. Let's not jump the gun. All right, so the delivery methods, coming back to the slides which talk about delivery methods, the hard copy documentation, The complexity could be detailed content that's not too complex. It can be used for medium to large audience. Geography can be independent. The frequency of instruction, as in the frequency of usage of hard copy, can be high. Because there is a lot of cost involved in printing the hard copy, the frequency of content change should be as minimal as possible, should be low, so that you can get enough cost benefit out of the hard copy. So you need to ensure that the information which is going to the hard copy is something which is very, very it's not changed very frequently. It's changed on a very it's something which is pretty constant in the organization. Some web-based documentation, that is detailed content that's not too complex, medium to large audience that are dispersed. So because it is web, because it is internet, everybody can look at it. The frequency of instruction can be high, and the frequency of content change can be high, because there's no additional cost you're putting in this. You just need to make changes in one place, and everybody else can view the web content. Physical reminders should not be complex. Medium to large audience. Geography could be independent of the geography. The frequency of instruction can be high, but the frequency of change should be low. So again, the material should have information which is less frequently changing. Live trainings, highly complex content, which is the classroom-based kind of training. It can be high and complex content, because the employees can actually ask questions if they don't understand, and you can clarify the question, so it can be complex. Small audience, obviously, because it's constrained. Small audience located in a similar geography, in one particular geography. The frequency of instruction should be low, because you're not achieving or you're not actually penetrating the maximum population of the organization. The frequency of change in this content can be really high. In fact, we suggest it is pretty high, so that it is up to date, so that the employees are not looking at the same thing again and again. Web-based training, which is same as web-based, similar to web-based documentation, high complex content, similar audience that are dispersed. Smaller audience that are dispersed, and frequency of instruction is can be low, and the frequency of content change can be high, because anyway it is web-based training material. Computer-based training. Web-based training is basically something which is facing the internet, an open source basically. Yeah, and computer-based training is something which is a tool-driven training. So the tool-driven training, the content can be complex, large audience that are dispersed, so you can actually penetrate to a very high audience, and the frequency of instruction can be high, because it's web-based. People are the tool will be available to everybody, and everybody can actually look into it. So the frequency of instruction can be very high. You don't need to do anything extra. There's nothing extra you're doing here. And the frequency of content change should be minimal, because this is something which employees probably be looking at on a regular basis, as in everybody probably will be looking at it year long. Interactive group trainings, complex training, small audience located in a similar geography, which is very similar to live training, and frequency of instruction can be low, because there's a lot of effort involved in this, and the frequency of content change should be high. Right, some of the solutions that your organization can consider. This is where we can look at the exercises and testing. So somebody was asking about testing, so this slide will talk about that. So these are some solutions which you can, as an organization, look at. There are active curriculums, there are passive curriculums. We will first look at active curriculums. The exercises, the solution description is basically, although business continuity professionals may not categorize exercises or tests as a training and awareness tool, this is the most effective method when looking to expose response and recovery personnel to business continuity process and strategies in the sterile environments. Many would not look at this as an effective training, but this is actually extremely effective training method. Drills. Hosting evacuation and shelter-in-place drills are important life safety procedures and often mandated by local regulations. Use the downtime and heighten awareness to reinforce the values. Many business continuity teams take this opportunity to provide handouts and other information to employees while they wait for clearance to return to their work. So evacuation drills, which again employees or organization might not look as the training mode, but this is also a very good training mode. Classroom style skill-based training, organize hands-on training to address more complex skills, including BIA, participation, plan documentation, first aid performance, call to evacuation, and crisis communication evacuations. So basically, you can customize. So you cannot do all kind of trainings for classroom-based training. So probably you need to look at what are the ones which require classroom-based training. Trainings which are very, very complex, like BIAs and RS, and basically informing the stakeholders on how to perform a BIA, how to perform an RA, how to do the first aid performance, the call to evacuation, in execution basically, and crisis communication execution method. So your tabletop tests and all this can be your classroom-based, skill-based kind of training. HR orientation integration. Deliver a business continuity focused presentation during new hire orientation. This is a great way to create awareness from day one and embed business continuity into the culture of your organization. Very, very, very important point. As soon as during your HR should have a package for new employees who are getting into the organization. In that package, you will probably need to include business continuity also. This is very, very effective. You just need to provide, if it is a general population, like I mentioned, provide information in terms of what is in the event, how to recognize an event, what to do when an event happens, during an event happens, and after the event happens, who to contact, who to notify, what to do. So that is what you need to train if it is a general population. If it is a crisis management team who is getting oriented, then obviously we need to provide them information which is more specific to their roles and responsibilities. Online awareness courses. The business continuity professional time is limited. Consider building computer-based multimedia awareness presentation covering key business continuity topics. Post a link on the business continuity team's intranet site and encourage employees to visit that. This is particularly useful for annual refreshers or awareness presentations. So you can use this more frequent as it is available on to everybody. It can be used for a large population. Use this as frequently as possible and get the maximum out of. It could be just the link which is available on the internet, or you can send mailers or communication to all the employees saying that this is available. Why don't you go ahead and look at the training. Methods, tests, and surveys measure knowledge and awareness using an online survey, demand 100% participation, and provide links to additional source of information so that participants who miss a question know where to find information on the subject. When paired together, surveys and computer-based trainings are very effective awareness tools. Conference participation, conference and local business continuity associations like associations of contingency planners are excellent source of information on new and emerging business continuity trends. This is basically be for business continuity professionals. Unfortunately, the content is tailored to business continuity and other risk management professionals, like I mentioned. So therefore, the applicability of this tool is limited to your business continuity, and it can't be used for everybody. Industry certification preps, class, and exam. So there are a lot of certification trainings which are available in the market. Business and technology professionals that are new to business continuity can get a crash course in the standards, best practices, and theory by participating in the certification courses. Some more internet sites invest some time in developing and updating an internet site and regularly post content regarding upcoming events, business continuity strategies, and management testimonials. Some organizations create and maintain a externally faced website that employees can access during a crisis to obtain situation updates also. Plan documentation, a simple form of awareness, is disseminating or providing access to business continuity plan documentation to response and recovery team members in an easy to access manner. This also familiarizes team members with where to locate plans in the event of a disaster. User guides, business continuity planning tools and softwares are used pervasively in medium to large organizations. Hands-on training is great, but easy access to user guides are an important component of training and awareness process. Store and disseminate user guides in an electronic form, or that they so that they are easy to update and redistribute. So you can also provide user guides in case it is not a big organization, it's a small organization, and you don't need to invest too much. Then probably we can look at user guides as well. Some creative methods like magnets, create and distribute refrigerated magnets to employees, include information that an employee may need when they are at home. How to get situation updates, crisis phone numbers, and ghost websites like your IMDs, your open source websites like your IMDs or your WHO sites, etc., and general business continuity strategy information. Some more provide reminder placards. A number of organizations provide awareness exhibit during company-wide meetings or even in the cafeteria, provide handouts and giveaways, and use this opportunity to discuss the business continuity program with interested parties. Wallet cards, a small laminated card summarizing key responsibilities and contact information needed during a crisis, is a common awareness tool. This tool is often limited to members of an executive management team, but can be provided to all employees in a scoped down manner. Evacuation bags. Business continuity teams are beginning to outfit employees with a small emergency response bag containing key supplies that may prove useful during a building evacuation or a shelter in a place situation. I have given you, basically the next slide will talk about some of the samples of how an evacuation bag can look like, so we'll probably look at that. Badges and stickers. Many organizations have building access badges or company identification cards. Place a sticker or print a business continuity related information on the back of it to include crisis phone numbers, ghost websites, and building evacuation rendezvous points. So most of the organization have the business cards, access cards. Behind that, you can probably put another card which has information about crisis phone numbers, ghost websites, evacuation points, rendezvous points, etc. So, like I mentioned, this is some sample of emergency evacuation kit, which can have information, which can have emergency equipments like your bread, your energy bars, some cash, battery-powered radios, flashlights, whistles, thermometers, some first aid, water, etc., etc. The other one, the left one is basically in terms of like a flyer, but the one which is in the right side is like a checklist, so you can use either of them. And ultimately, most importantly, have fun. Finally, you need to have fun. Try creating posters or even holding a contest to enhance awareness in your organization. You can probably have a poster competition, which basically, and you can identify the winners of the posters and post those posters in the notice board saying that these are the winners. So this will create, so the winners can obviously get some prizes. So this will probably create the awareness around the hype around the business continuity strategies. Open house, facility tours, demonstrations, or lunch and learn sessions allow employees to come and go as their schedule allows. So these are a few things which can use. Make sure to give each employee a takeaway, that is your pamphlet or a laminated card with important information. So let's see whether we are actually with this proving the training and awareness program objections which are incorrect. So let's revisit the original set of objections, which are: there's not enough resources to develop and deliver custom training and awareness. The objection here is: organize the training and awareness development efforts. Understand the formal training courses are not the only method. So if you look at all the methods we looked at, not many are actually using most of these methods. And most of the methods which are used is the classroom-based training and very few evacuation drills and other tests which are performed. There are loads of other methods which you can use, which you can harness, we can leverage to, which are very cost-effective as well, to ensure your awareness is high among your employees. So recognize that the technologies and passive reminder mechanism can deliver or demand awareness without taking the business continuity professional away from his or her most important task. So here, the objection of your business continuity member is not available, is busy with other stuff, can be addressed. Developing and maintaining business continuity strategy is what your business continuity professional is doing, but he does not need, he can continue concentrating on that, and there are a lot of other passive methods which can be used to increase awareness. The second objection was the business community has a business to run and they don't have time to participate in these kind of events. Develop training awareness. So the objection to the objection, the objecting to the objection is develop training and awareness content and tools that does not have to be a time insensitive process. So you can use your web-based training, your computer-based training tools, your other awareness methods like the stickers, the bags, the handouts, the pamphlets, etc., which don't require time. You just need to hand it over. Your user guides, just hand it over to them so that they can review it on their leisure. Participating in training doesn't either. Creating delivery mechanism that deliver training on demand and remain clear and concise when delivering content to business stakeholders. By doing this, you're actually objecting to the objection of the business does not having time. So I think with this, we have covered the entire topic on awareness, and I hope it is helpful. So can I request Geeta to open poll number 3? Was this talk really helpful to you? I think we have very short time. We can probably get into the question answer session after this quickly. So please give your feedback. Was this talk helpful? Was this webinar helpful? Well, thank you very much. So everybody agrees that this webinar is helpful. So I think we have overshot our time. We have very little time. So we can probably open the session for a quick couple of question answers. So you can provide your questions on the chat box. Please put your questions in the chat box and share your across to us. Once we receive that, we can probably look at that and see whether we can respond to it. So please share your questions. We might just have a couple of minutes to answer maybe 1 or 2 questions. It might not necessarily be question itself. You can also send your suggestions. If you feel that we have missed out some suggestions, you can please let us know. Please provide your suggestions also. Maybe some training methods which we might have missed out, which you might be following, and it might be working fine for you. So let us know, and we can probably ensure that everybody in this webinar is aware of that and can utilize that. Okay, we've got a question. Does it necessary to to have a certified BCM coordinator to run the BC or DR activity in the organization. It is necessary for BC coordinator to create training material along with the business owner, but it is not necessary that he needs to be training. He needs to be conducting the training. It could be the training team who can be doing it. It could be the HR team who could be doing the training. But ensure that the person or the team which is performing the training is competent enough and aware of the strategies which you're using. So you can do a train the trainer session to those trainers. The BC team can actually do the train the trainer session and certify them, and then they can go ahead and conduct the trainings. So I hope the question is answered. The answer is no. You can actually, any team can actually do the training. Got a next question. How can we gauge the effectiveness of training and awareness session? Extremely good question. There are a couple of ways which actually employees organization do that. The first, what they do is before the training, there's an test assessment which all the employees need to go through, and then they go through the training, and after the test, they will go through the same assessment. So based on the kind of result you might have got from the first assessment, that is a pre-training assessment, to the post-training assessment, if there is improvement, then obviously your training is effective. So that's one of the best ways of doing it. There are a lot of other ways. You can probably look at the live incidents, how the live incidents managed before the training and after the training. Was there any improvement? Were there any actual incidents? If it is an information security training, then what kind of how is the number of incidents? Has it risen, or is it the same, or is it dropped after the training? So that's one way of checking whether your training has been effective or not. And so there are various methods of gauging the effectiveness of your training. Another question, sorry, I hope you have answered your question. Another question is, though we conduct the training, there needs to be a lot of follow-up needs to be done to complete it on time. How do you think we can be done without a lot of follow-up? I actually do not understand this question. Though we conduct the training, there needs to be a lot of follow-up needs to be done to complete it on time. How do we think it can be done without a lot of follow-up? So you're saying maybe you've initiated the training program, but you're not getting enough response, and the employees are not actually changing the training, the awareness, which is a very common thing. So I think you need to bring in your management. Your senior management needs to be involved. So probably some of the tips you can use is, before you start the training program, you probably get your senior management to send a communication to everybody saying that there is some important event, a training event which is happening, and you would need to ensure you provide 100% of the participation. Everybody needs to participate in it. So that's one way of it, bring the top-down approach. The other way of countering it is maybe make it a part of your appraisals. So you can probably say that, you can probably speak to HR and say that if the person is not attending the training, he will get some less marks in the appraisals. And so you can make it mandatory. That will make it mandatory for the people to attend the training. So first objection, a hurdle here is people are not not actually attending your training. If they are not, so these are a few methods you can use to ensure that they actually come to your doorstep. But once they come to your doorstep, it is your training material, your content, which needs to ensure that the kind of takeaway they're getting out of the training is very high. So that is when you can probably be you can continue getting your senior management supporting it. Otherwise, if your content is not good enough, your content is not of any value, then even though the senior management the first time supports you, later on they will identify that there's no takeaway, so obviously that will fizzle off. So ensure that use your senior management to get people to your doorstep, that is where, after that is when, which is important piece, where you will come and you will deliver high value, high beneficial training so that you can sustain the process. So I think with this, we can actually conclude. We are actually, oh, sorry, there's another question which is coming. Let's respond to this. And probably the last question for this session: how to highlight the good of BCP training session to management? Okay. So basically, if I rephrase your question, you are basically trying to ask me, your question is, how do we get management support? How do we get management to support you in your training? Well, if you're not getting your management support for training, I think there is something fundamentally incorrect in the business continuity process which you have implemented. The fundamental rule of, or rather, the ISO 22301 also says that you should have enough support from the leadership. If you're not getting enough support from the leadership, I'm sure your process itself is not efficient. So obviously, your training also will not be efficient and effective. So ensure that when you're implementing business continuity, you are having adequate support from your leadership. Without adequate support from the leadership, you will not be able to implement a proper process, and obviously you will not be able to get their support in completing the training. So I hope that has helped. Thank you very much for your time. If you have further questions, you have my contact information. You can send me a mail even later on. If you have any questions on this topic, please send me your mail, your feedback, so your suggestions to zubair.a@continuityandbrazilians.com. And I would like to thank you all for making this session successful. Like we always mention, these webinars are free. However, your participation makes it successful. So thank you for making this. Thank you for participating in this webinar and making this session successful. Thank you for your time.